Hey guys, welcome back to the Attachment Point News Roundtable. I got Erik Mitisek with Highwing. How to do, sir? Do all right on that intro? There we go. Perfect. Second time's the charm, but we'll edit it so you won't realize that. But thanks for joining me today. We're nerding out pretty hard about data, about companies like Juniper Labs that, I worked with in the past out of Denver as well. We're talking about Nikola Jokic, a lot of different paths we can go down today. So Erik, thanks for joining me and, just being open to the conversation.
Yeah, Brett, absolutely. I really appreciate taking the time. Love your work and really excited to have a great chat today about all things insurance.
Yeah, no, thank you. Erik's mentioning is just kind of being a broker who tries to touch insurtechs. Thank you for doing the work you're doing to make our lives easier. The less keying in, the more actual relationship building we get to do, and more data we have, the better underwriting. Field underwriting I think is hugely important. Get out there, see it with your own eyes, see what's going on in the building, make sure you have a good risk, but there's so many unknowns, that companies like Highwing help us have in front of us. We can only take somebody at their word. I can't necessarily undo the walls, see when something was redone. But so how is Highwing helping us out? What's Highwing up to for the industry of commercial insurance?
I love the notion around the value of field underwriting. Like I think that, at Highwing, we spend all of our time trying to compress the amount of time it takes to procure or bind insurance. And so to save time, we want to leverage data in the process, wherever it can come from, whether it's from an agency management system, a CRM, whether it's from field underwriting, whether it's from notes, whether it's from a document store. Like, how do we connect the pieces together within the brokerage to be able to facilitate a better application and a better submission to the markets in insurance? And so that's how we look at the world. We've built a bunch of awesome tools through the entire pipeline of kind of insurance procurement, whether that's from the moment it's bound to the moment that it begins its marketing process, to being able to capture exposures and new underwriting information in the beginning, to assembly application all the way through rating and bind. Like, we've done a lot of work along that timeline, but we really live and exist to help brokers spend more time managing their clients. And the data and magic that happens behind the scenes, we just hope to be more organized to compress the amount of time it takes to manage that on your behalf.
We're all people, want to write good business. It's a long-term industry. I'm not going to say sometimes people can be like tempted to maybe put information that might put something in a better light than other. I kind of like the fact that data neutralizes it. Good information makes it to where, we're looking at the same thing. It's going to help everybody be on the up and up, And before jumping too far, also Elliot Bless, that's how I knew about you. Sometimes your people are your best marketing. That's how I first heard about Highwing, was through connecting with him on Twitter, and then seeing you guys out there.
Yeah, Elliot is our in-house king of insurtech. He's a force in the industry. He's just an incredible leader internally, leads our client success operation, as well as all of our partnerships. And I think from that capacity, it gives him the ability to not only engage in the entire industry at scale, but most importantly, he's a helper and a generous leader by default. So if you look behind the scenes, you always see Elliot, trying to connect people and engage in anything that's moving the industry forward. He's just an absolute blessing and gift, no pun intended, to all things in Highwing.
It's crazy. I feel like I'm 36. I feel like back in the day, it's like, here's the company, here's the brand. It's almost like inverted now. The more your people can be involved out there, the more your people can be dynamic in the ecosystem. It's like I hate to say it, it's almost like we trust individuals more than brands at this point. And then when you have somebody in your org that's personally developed like that, but developing like that and able to kind of get out in front of the crowd too, that's huge.
It is. And I think, building insurance technology, we talk about this a little bit in prep, like the idea of it being easy to solve problems of insurance is really, it's just, it couldn't be more untrue. And I think it takes all hands on deck. And I think we look at the opportunity as great ideas come from everywhere. Like, how do we, get the right ideas in front of the right people and the right partners to really facilitate change in our work? And so, the more people that we have on our team that are engaged with our clients, solving real problems and providing value at the desk, whether it's inside of an underwriter or inside of a brokerage, like, that's where we live. And so, the more we can multiply that, the better we're going to be, and the better problems we're going to solve for the industry.
No, it's crazy when you mentioned the individual. It can be the largest companies you've heard of, national carriers, maybe even international, I don't know, huge agencies. If you have that relationship, like, so many doors can open and things can change just by having like an authentic kind of back and forth with people who could be stages and stages beyond where you're at, in an org, income, experience, whatever. But it's an industry that like feeds off authenticity, I think, because, there's so much risk in, like, you're trying to like survey what's going on, and if you find trustworthy resources, doors open for you. It's awesome, you know.
Yeah, I think it's everything in this industry, and I'd also say that like in Colorado, we talk a lot about the principle of give first. Like, how do
Mhm.
you help somebody for the pure sake of helping someone with nothing expected in return? And I think in the world of insurtech, the best insurtech leaders, whether they're founders, whether they're executives, whether they're teams that are building these great companies, the ones who embrace that give first mentality, you see them absolutely thrive. I mean, because I think insurance is a place where we want to all learn collectively. We want to be able to apply those learnings and those patterns to our own problems that we're trying to solve. And so, to your point on authenticity, the better we can do that, and the more that we can do that with people that really care and want to help one another, like, it's just going to make the work that we're doing in the world of insurtech and brokerage and underwriting that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And before the call, we are talking about other data companies, saying good things, and talking about the blue ocean mentality, how it's just such a big industry and there's so many needs to meet so much random data, so many different states, regions, carriers, risks, like so many different people can win, in this thing. It's huge. Yeah.
I 100% agree. I think the opportunities are just are limitless, and it just takes some sincere focus on looking at the right opportunities and find the right people to execute them.
Oh yeah, and it sounded like you had kind of diverse background, a few different experiences that led you here. How'd you get involved at Highwing? What kind of scratched the itch, or what woke you up to the opportunity at data around the insurance space?
Yeah, so when I look at my career from an opportunity perspective, I've been building early stage companies either as a founder or for founders for as long as I can remember, kind of back to the early 2000s. I've always found myself at the intersection of software and kind of seismic change in market opportunities. And so I had a chance to build a business in the music industry, built and crafted the first Destination Club, which is a Steve Case business back in early 2000s, built a data business kind of during the last financial crisis. And then that led us to reinventing travel agency, which, when I look back on my patterns and opportunities, really probably set up the activities really, really well for the work we're doing in Highway. Our last business, Next Great Place, we really tried to offload high value, high ticket, travel transactions. So think about, private aviation, premium travel, et cetera, not things you easily book online. And same has been true in what we're doing in Highwing. Like, we looked at the overall insurance value chain, and, in the world of personal lines and small commercial, where we're starting to see a lot of automation and a lot of digitization, that non-analog category, which is really middle market and kind of complex risk and above, found ourselves in the same place where we're just trying to save time, being deeply committed to agency and the relationships that actually allow business to work, but then providing technology and tools that speed up the process and create a lot of value for desk level users. And so, it's been really, really fun to do that over the course of my career. And I look at insurance, for probably the balance of my career with, be one of the biggest opportunities out there.
Yeah, no, it's such a weird one. I had a friend I always joked that was like a little bit older, or same age, but a little bit more mature. Like, he was in finance classes in college. Somebody came in and talk insurance. They're like, nah. We get into our sales careers a little later. His uncle's running a nice brokerage. He brings it up. I'm doing office moving, sales at the time. I look at it as like an interesting way to have the annuity cycle plus not having to manage crews. So I kind of put my toe in the water and just started selling on the side while doing the moving storage job. It's such an unsexy, great beast. It's definitely a happy accident industry. Now it's cool that you found your way into it.
Yeah, I feel so blessed. I think it's, if you have an aptitude to build exceptional relationships and love humans, and you have a knack for solving problems, and you really enjoy, the finance and creativity that insurance can provide, especially in complex risk and middle market, like, it moves out of some of the traditional work and personal lines where you've got very specific exposures that you can apply a handful of things to look at and say, okay, here's what I think you need. When you get into, effectively managing the risk for large scale businesses, the exposure landscape, or kind of the exposure perimeter of the business is so big that it takes a lot of creativity, not only to address the existing exposures that the business could face, but like, how do you creatively think about the things that could happen in the future?
Right.
And that kind of, when you think about the exposure landscape in personal lines, you can get creative around what could happen to your house or what could happen to your car. But when you're running businesses with thousands of employees, like, who knows? Like, and so I think it's a really fun industry to be able to understand the evolving nature of both the products that allow us to be able to manage risk, but most importantly, the relationships out of those real discussions. And how do you structure it? What's the right financial model that the company needs to operate within? What's the right pricing? Like, it just is a really incredible industry to be able to put all those pieces to work and not only make a great living, but solve real problems.
Oh yeah, no, it's cool too. Like it's interesting getting the finances, the operation, the org, risk tolerances, capital on hand. As my buddy Pat West would say, you can go broke buying insurance as well. So insuring for the risk, within reason. And then also too, getting up to date, like with cyber being such a big one over the past year, 2 years. I tried to sell cyber when I first started my own agency 3 years ago, and I felt like I was just making cold calls for the incumbent broker, which is kind of rough. But now it's like, forefront of everybody's mind. No, that's awesome stuff. And then how long have you been based out of Colorado or out of Denver, for your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, Colorado since 1976.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just a little bit.
So
Yeah,
born, raised,
cool.
never left. I love this place. Grew up here, went to school here, had my entire career here. So I'm a native through and through, and I love building businesses here in this great state.
Oh, it's an awesome state. My brother's in Boulder right now building a cooler startup called Rover Products. I'll do a little plug. But yeah, I always love passing through. Yeah, that's actually where I met up with Lance and the guys. Was at the pub inside the train station. Just on
Wow,
my way.
amazing!
Little...
Right, these right across the street from our office, and
yeah,
coolers are hot. Otterbox and
yeah,
Yeti, and there's some really big
yeah.
companies that roam around our hood. So really, really cool.
I think it's one of the better, like I really like the VCs and stuff. I don't know. Colorado to me seems like I'll call it a little bit more grounded, holistic startup scene. It doesn't seem as like, I don't want to say bloated is a negative term, but it just seems efficient, and hardy. Like, I don't know. It seems like a cool place to be launching an insurtech. That's good stuff. And then congrats too on the recent round. I know you guys raised about 4 million last year to double the team I was seeing.
We did. Yeah, we feel really blessed. We were born and created out of an organization called IMA Financial Group. So those who don't know, it's one of the top 20 insurance agencies in the United States. Incredible firm, and they had the idea and vision to really start to build some of the framework that became Highwing, and they alongside of Broker Tech Ventures, being led by an incredible portfolio of insurance brokers, as well as Baldwin Risk Partners, public brokerage firm out of Tampa, led our round. And when you look at a unique thing about Highwing, I think that's really powering us is that we're solving broker solutions with broker feedback, broker engagement, really being born out of brokerage. So we're not trying to create problems and solve problems that don't exist. I mean, we're deep inside the agencies that we operate in, and we're solving desk level problems that patterns across multiple agencies. We can say that needs to be fixed, that needs to accelerate the process, that needs to improve the way that we're either engaging with our client, or we're putting together the application, or we're submitting to markets. Like, we've got that entire landscape covered across multiple agencies, and it just gives us such an incredible view as to what problems we need to solve to build real value for the desk.
Yeah, no, 100%. BTV is huge. There's like,
Incredible.
I'll put one other org up there. I won't name names because we haven't mentioned them yet. But I think they're a winning group to be around. We mentioned a group ahead of time that we're both fans of Tallagy and how great things to say about them.
I love them.
But yeah, no, BTV is doing great. I kind of alluded to people being open up the stack. I know some people at Heffernan and Ollie and everything. They've been really generous with their time and knowledge. It's just good to be around people who have the idea of winning together.
I agree. And I think that the biggest differentiator for me as it relates to Broker Tech Ventures, specifically, is that brokers, especially large scale brokers, they approach the insurance solution landscape differently than the vast sea of brokerage. And so when you look at middle and large market brokerage, there's a lot of things happening there. I mean, not only the operations around actually selling and procuring insurance, but most importantly, team development, scale development, market expansion. Like, there's lots of things happening in that segment of the market that may not necessarily exist in smaller agencies. And so that like kind thinking, I think, is a multiplier, and a multiplier in a multitude of ways. And so it's just been really a blessing to be around incredible leaders that are thinking about really reinventing the way that insurance works, operates, and is delivered. And we just feel so blessed to be part of that family. And we're excited to work across the entire portfolio with some of the other great portfolio companies that we call friends.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. So, predominantly selling small business commercial. I've been around a few middle market opportunities. I'll call it large small business. Um, when I have a problem, I have to go look for a part. I look for a policy. I look for this boilerplate thing. I say, let's put these four together. Those guys get look at balance sheets, create up different models, have a level of self-insurance,
Bingo.
work with other technology-driven partners to maybe mitigate risk and lower it. For me, I can almost compare it to like just slapping a part on a car as opposed to being like an automotive engineer and really understanding why things work, how they work. And then I wouldn't even pretend to know like the Aeon level of those monsters. Like, but I imagine, dumping in whatever tech you want, building whatever programs you want per that risk, setting up different financial models, entities, captives. But yeah, you're right. The game does get more interesting and nuanced as you go up the ladder, It,
Does, and
yeah.
I think the opportunity there gets it becomes more significant as well, because at the end of the day, we all have clients that want to buy insurance, and they want to do it in a modern,
Hopefully.
hopefully, and they want to do it in a modern way, and they expect a better digital experience. They expect better knowledge when they need knowledge, and they expect the opportunity to do that faster. And so I think the agencies of the future are the ones that are going to be able to put that trifecta together, that have really great technology, that
Mhm.
understand how to speed up the transaction so it looks and feels like other things that are happening from an operational perspective in the business. But most importantly, are deeply rooted in trust and knowledge that allow really great trusted insurance advisors to make great decisions with them. And so that's where I really see a lot of the things happening in the world of BTV and kind of the upper end of the market is really bringing those things together. And technology is an enabler. It's not necessarily like the end all be all solution to take us to the new world.
Oh, if now they'd use like the bionic advisor, kind of tag. It's still going to come down to relationship. I'm fortunate to have, my best friend, his family has got a 200-person machine shop. Anybody who watches the content, I reference this all the time. But he just wants to make sure like paying the least amount as possible is going to be taken care of. They trust people. He's not worried about the data. He's not worried about the paperwork. He's not worried about what goes on the back end. He just wants to make sure it's competitive and it's going to do what it's supposed to do. And he's looking at the person across the table. He doesn't care how we do it. He doesn't care how the
Yeah.
sausage gets made. And I think I hear less of it, but people worried about kind of like the retirement wave in insurance. It seems like I don't think you can't automate the relationship, but a lot of like the work on the back end, it seems like we're able to kind of get away a little bit from the mundane tasks, as I write a good amount of personal lines. There's some savvy websites now even that'll like, my insurer will call me, hey, can you send the insurance to this website? And it'll automate the whole back end, just cross-referencing everything, making sure everything's in force. I think it's kind of cool that a lot of the minutia is getting kind of taken care of, and we get to do the relationship part more and more as agents.
Yeah,
So
and I think it forces great agents and agencies to be really, really good at relationships, because
mhm.
you're exactly right. Like, as data becomes more of a commodity, as access to information and technology becomes more of a commodity, what are you left with? And it's really the ability to use that data to your advantage to make better decisions, and more efficient decisions, and more decisions that are aligned with your client's needs. And the best agents and the best brokers will be able to be able to put those two together.
Mhm. No, absolutely. All right, to make another kind of random pivot, I really enjoy being around like seed level startups, angel level startups, and that's where I think I can really help with my like kind of wild man energy and sort of make something out of nothing from copier sales days of just being handed some business cards and one-page script, or moving sales where my training was 2 breakfasts and go hit the bricks. So I think it's really helpful around early stage. Um, the later stuff, I've been around some huge things, and it's harder to like justify your seat at the table. But what have been some tricks that have helped you get off the ground? Whether it's Highwing or some of your other ventures. What's that magic sauce if somebody's interested in solving a problem and getting out the gate? Is it itch you just can't help but scratch? Is it being involved in the ecosystem around you? Maybe checking out the ecosystem, make sure it's big enough that you want to go work on. How would you recommend people kind of get in this crazy entrepreneur game if they're looking at it?
A couple of things. I think the most important thing is to find an intersection of something that you're deeply engaged or passionate about, that you have some very specific knowledge that will allow you to see around corners and have some specific insights, but also something that is a significant problem that when you solve it, that there's some great like impact, that you've got some intrinsic motivators that you feel great about solving it. And so that's been really, really a driver for us in the world of Highwing. Like, the market and the opportunity around solving the overall insurance solution is vast. To your point, it's just a blue ocean of opportunity in the world of insurance. But I think the bigger thing for us is that as we've engaged with our users over the course of the last 3 years, like understanding the day ins and day outs of how insurance is purchased, how it's transacted, and the time it takes to put that together, and then really bringing the solutions to the table that not only compress that but make it elegant and enjoyable has been really, really satisfying as a company. And I think the last piece is that businesses are hard. So it's like willpower is always going to be something that allows you the ability to once you have that idea, I think the combination of something you're passionate about and building that solves your problems, you feel great about the impact it creates. I think that's kind of table stakes. And then, like, are you up for the willpower to bring it alive? Because it takes an extraordinary amount of work to get things, have a kind of escape velocity or some wind under the wings per se. And there's a lot of days where you just are going so hard for so long, and you don't necessarily feel the immediate lift of the progress. And you've just got to be committed to the process, that if you do that over and over and over with the right problem, like, you're going to start to feel the lift and the movement of the flywheel start to move. And then all of a sudden it's going to accelerate and you'll realize it's all worth it. And I think the combination of that is really, really critical. And I've always heard that, I think one of the quotes around that is, stress is doing something that you don't love. Passion is doing something that you do. And so it's like, if you're going to work hard, and I'd rather be passionate and work hard at something and, be able to be proud of it versus be stressed doing something that I'm working my tail off and not necessarily feeling the value of it. So I think that passion plus outcome is really critical.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting. It's a double negative, so I don't think it's proper grammar, but it's almost one of those like can't nots. You know what I mean? It's something you almost have to be forced to do. And then for me, it's just the long plays, just slogging, and then every so often just taking a moment to appreciate what you've done. I found myself texting with a buddy this morning who has some cool opportunities, and like sometimes you get jealous too. I mean, as much as you talk blue ocean, you're like, man, they got so much done in a year. And then you forget about like all the back work they did to be the person who has that opportunity that they can open up for themselves. I think, like you said, the unique skill set combined with unique opportunity, just looking in the mirror and like being like where you can be helpful and knowing like people are gifted differently, to me, it's fascinating. I've loved too. I mean, I'm 36, kind of growing up around what I'll call like an analog world, and then transitioning over to digital and kind of learning from the baby boomers and the salty, cowboys and the grinders, but trying to move a little bit more intelligently, trying to bring in that data, trying to, utilize automation where I can to just be a better agent, more efficient agent. During COVID, I got a few different kind of startup founders together, like an InsurTech kind of just connect. And then I got what I called an InsurTech Young Guns, some guy, girl agents all under 30. I was so impressed with what that next like cohort was doing, the way they were like automatically like pulling, permits, automatically, front loading their CRM, drip campaigns, and this was like, it was so funny. Like this was a handful of agents and it was just like common to them. Oh yeah, of course this is how we're doing it. While I'm like scraping lists and cold calling, it's pretty cool to see what that next generation's already doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think technology is going to make it that much easier to do the operational aspects of insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I think that that only takes you so far. And I think it's just going to be critical to be able to have self-awareness and recognize the value of putting that deep acceleration of technology to work alongside the ability to be a great human and solve real meaningful problems with clients. And so it's going to be really fun to see it unfold. It's going to be better. It's going to be more awesome. Insurance is going to be more fun in the future. And so, all those things get us excited to wake up in the morning and build Highwing.
Well, the cool thing, it's funny, just nerding out on this next generation of producers, guys, girls, like they're people you'd want to hang out with too. They're automating all this stuff, they're doing it, but these are people I'd want to meet up with a drink. These are people I'm thrilled about the idea of connecting with them at ITC or whenever they find their way to SoCal. It's the combination, the digital and the personal, we're not being replaced. Yeah.
100%.
That's cool. That's awesome. But yeah, so you guys excited for the next kind of phase of the journey, taking care of the carriers, taking care of the brokers, leaning into data, finding where it's relevant, where it's helpful. It's fun, man. I appreciate what you guys are doing on the back end, just helping our days, be cleaner, be easier, write better risks out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say could be more excited about the future. I think that there's a, a time where we're really starting to see the connectivity around large scale markets open up. And so in small commercial, personal lines, inline rating, and a lot of connectivity has been either through portals or through different tools that they've been using for the last few years. But when you start to get into the larger risks, there just hasn't been an efficient way to transact those or even engage from an API level. And so from our perspective, as the world becomes more connected and more open, we couldn't be more excited to bring the value to the table, because for us, it's just a function of time. Like, we know that open data is going to be the future. And it's
Yeah.
a question of like, how long can you be in the game and continue to put the pieces together? So at the end, you got this amazing mosaic of insurance innovation that solves real problems in the industry. And so, we're playing for the long game. We see the pieces come together, and we couldn't be more excited about it.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny. Like, when I first sort of got around APIs, it's funny. I wrote one article about APIs like 3 or 4 years ago, and I swear it just ballooned my network. It's amazing how just even creating helpful content in this industry can get you out there. But it's, airlines have been using APIs since 2000, efficiently. And it's like, kind of, what year is this? So it's funny to see it kind of get in, grow up, figure out how we can do these complex things. Also, I think to a degree, the guard, the change in the guard, I do think people are now seeing like kind of the writing on the wall a little bit, and you have to embrace the next level, even at the top. A lot of people are crushing it, aren't on LinkedIn. They're not worried about InsurTech, a lot of the top of the top. That's what I think is so cool about a group like BTV, proactively trying to change the industry rather than, let it happen to them. So I think you guys are in a really cool spot, it sounds like, with the network you're working through already.
We are. And it's, I think like attracts like. And so when you're trying to solve big problems and, everyone's rallied around the table to do that, the outcomes are that much better. And so you're exactly right. You're working with those who deeply value change and innovation is critical to provide progress in the category. And we feel blessed to be part of groups like that, and, call a lot of those companies and partners and portfolio companies friends.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, how should people chase you down? Where should they check out Highwing? What's the best way to get connected or stay connected?
Yeah, Brett, really appreciate it. So always can find us at www.highwing.io. Easiest place to connect with us there. Lots of information about the business, how to connect with us, schedule meetings, schedule demos. Personally, you can follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. Lots of amazing information there, and we're actively hiring a lot of roles. And so if you're an engineer or product lead or someone really excited to build the future of insurance, we encourage you to visit our website or our LinkedIn work around highwing.io, and love to have you take a look at joining our team.
Absolutely. And I'll just say that Elliot always, he was thrilled to join you, and he's been, just really high up on the journey ever since he's been connected there, publicly, privately. We've had some great chats about it. So can definitely give 2 thumbs up to the community. But yeah, no, thank you for the time today, and we look forward to following the journey.
Awesome, Brett. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.